What I miss the most, what really just hits me hard, is when I'm in the grocery store and I see his hot sauce. I want to buy it. Or it's the little things, his clothes everywhere. Excuse me, but it's the little things. And I know that people who have experienced loss totally understand what I'm saying. It's the small things that just get you. It's the visual of, Daddy coming home, and to the world he was Charlie Kirk, but to us he was my love of my life and my children's dad. I'm so sorry.
Understandable.
Excuse me, but it's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us. And that's what I always wanted to make so special for him, was coming home. I'd always say, baby, I don't care what time you get home. Home is here for you. Your food will never be cold. It might sit out for a little bit, but I'll reheat it. It's fine. And I just want to encourage spouses, don't get mad. It's so easy. Don't do it.
You're very protective of your children's privacy.
Yes.
As Charlie's profile grew, were you concerned?
We live in a day and age where the internet feels so entitled to everything. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Explain this, explain that. And we live in a world where children don't even have a childhood anymore. Why are you posting a photo of your kid so that you can get $50 off a stroller? That does not make sense to me.
Crazy.
If you can't afford a stroller, buy one you can afford. That makes sense to me. But to use your child or a photo of you standing in the bathroom embracing them specifically, and you have 500 copies of that same pose so you can get it right for social media, is bizarre to me. And it was to Charlie too. And yeah, we get kidnapping threats. We always have. We get death threats. We always have. You're just smart about it. Protect what you love.
There is an old saying that makes everyone shudder every time they hear it. He knew that evil wins when good people stay silent. And so for the rest of my life, I will make sure that I don't stay silent. Y'all, am I the only one? Am I the only one that is a little concerned about why Erika Kirk keeps lying to her children? The sudden, fragile reality check Erika received was the biggest reality check since the family crisis. And this time, it came not from strangers, but from Charlie Kirk's own parents. Robert and Catherine Kirk had officially stepped up, taken back control, and filed for joint custody of the two children. And let me emphasize, this was not an act of anger or revenge. It was not the pettiness of consistent adults. They were doing it out of concern for the stability of the group, because in their eyes, Erika was no longer balanced, no longer putting the two children as her top priority as before. This was a move Erika had completely missed. She was shocked, bewildered, and almost at a loss for how to react, because this time everything had happened so fast and so precisely. What shocked many people most was that Charlie's parents didn't give her any room to protest. They acted coolly, immersing Erika in the face of what they believed she had been trying to hide all this time. A few weeks ago, they released a statement that went viral. It looked like they were sympathizing with Erika, like they were standing by her side while she was struggling. They said, "Erika has been trying to be strong for weeks, but the pain has finally become too much to bear. Please pray for her." It sounds like a well-informed statement, but if you look deeper, it was an incredibly subtle and clever move. Because in that seemingly gentle statement, they sent a very clear message. Erika is not okay, worried about stress, and an unwell person is not going to be able to provide the best care for a child. It's the way they build their argument, not loudly, not directly criticizing, but enough to make the public and build think. And really, with what's happened recently with the way Erika has been constantly appearing in the media, with her behavior that creates public opinion and questions, a lot of people are starting to understand why Charlie's parents had to take action. The Kirks said something simple: "Please pray for her." On the surface, it sounded like a word of encouragement, as if the in-laws were reaching out to protect Erika in the midst of her breakdown. But if you look deeper, it was a very smart move, a way to send a message to the world. Erika was not stable enough to take care of the children. It wasn't cruelty, it was strategy. A carefully calculated strategy from two people who had been monitoring their daughter-in-law's every move since Charlie's incident. At first, it sounded extreme, as if they were being too harsh on Erika. But in Robert and Catherine's eyes, it was necessary because since Charlie left, Erika had completely changed in a way that even they, who had known her for many years, couldn't understand. She appeared more in the media. She said things that raised questions, and she made choices that Charlie's parents believed were putting their children in an unsafe position, not physically, but emotionally, psychologically, and for their long-term stability. But what really worried them was something else. It was that Erika seemed to be trying to replace Charlie in a strange and inexplicable way. In a bombshell interview, she claimed that no one could compare to her husband. But just a few sentences later, in front of millions watching live, Erika said she saw a lot of Charlie in J.D. Vance. To Robert and Catherine, it wasn't a slip of the tongue. And wives, do not compare your husband to other women's husbands, like no one will ever replace my husband. No, but I do see some similarities of my husband in J.D. and Vice President J.D. And then when media analysts began to realize that Erika might be approaching J.D. Vance for image building, the suspicions became even more obvious. J.D. Vance is a rising name in a major political movement, but his current family image doesn't resonate with certain groups of voters. And then people looked to Erika, a young woman, a bright image, 2 white children, a story of faith, a story of overcoming pain, all the elements that some people thought could make up for what J.D. Vance lacked. Charlie's parents understood that. They had seen their son be very particular about his image and the safety of his children. Charlie would never allow the children to be used as props, as decoration for any campaign or story. Because for Charlie, children are the most sacred thing. They must be protected, not brought out into the public eye to serve the purposes of adults. But in the eyes of Robert and Catherine, what was happening was the exact opposite. They saw the children being dragged into interviews, mentioned in dramatic clips, placed next to statements that even adults could not understand. And that was when they decided this could not go on for another day. For them, the children were not props, not the right image. They were the last remaining part of Charlie, and they had to protect that at all costs. Charlie has always been known for being extremely protective of his family's privacy, especially that of his children. He is so strict that the entire internet does not have any pictures of Erika while she was pregnant, let alone of the children. For him, the line between public and family is absolute. He and Erika have shared that they have received many worrying messages, and at times they even felt the need to increase the family's safety. For that reason, Charlie decided never to let his children's images appear in public. He believes that innocent children should not be the target of public opinion, should not be dragged into adult stories. Now I understand Charlie and Erika maybe made the decision that they didn't want to show their kids' faces on social media. And she said, "We did get kidnapping threats, we did get death threats and stuff like that. I understand there's people like it was a security thing, and again, that's their choice." Now mentioning her children in interviews as a way to gain sympathy. In the eyes of many, that action was no longer about protecting the children, but more like using them as an emotional shield in public. But what really shocked the public, you told your children that Charlie was going on a work trip with Jesus. Are they still asking, "Where is Daddy?" Yes. My daughter continues to ask. I told her the other day, she said, "I just miss Daddy, and where's Daddy? When is he coming home?" And I said, "Well, baby, Daddy's still with Jesus." And I said, "They are so busy." And I said, "If ever you want to talk to Daddy, you just look up to the sky and start talking to him. He can hear you." So is he. But the problem is, this is absolutely not what Charlie wanted. Charlie, who had always been careful about the details of his son, would never have agreed to such a gentle but misleading manipulation of the truth. And certainly his parents, Robert and Catherine, would not have accepted it either. They knew their son knew he always wanted his children to have the truth, to have stability, and never to be drawn into vague explanations just to avoid dealing with emotions. But that was only the beginning of the story, because from here, everything began to take on a different color, blurrier, more confusing, and making Charlie's parents feel worried in a whole new way. They began to notice changes in Erika, the way she constantly appeared, the way she answered interviews, the way she told stories that only she knew, and gradually they realized something even more frightening. Erika was not just changing, she was increasingly drifting away from the values Charlie had once held. That's when they realized things had gone beyond personal differences. It became a matter of stability, of emotions, and of 2 young children who needed protection more than ever. And that's when things took a turn for the darker side, where questions piled up and answers became fewer and fewer. The surprising truth is that Erika doesn't seem to be focused on just one relationship or one goal. She's open to all sorts of possibilities, as if testing the waters to see which door will open for her. And that's where the Kirk family begins to worry more than ever. They realize that Erika is not only appearing with J.D. Vance, who she once said reminds me a lot of Charlie, but also appears comfortable being intimate with many other men in front of the camera in the middle of events watched by millions of people. The sudden hugs, the intimate moments in public, all make Charlie's parents feel uneasy. Because to them, it's not just a social act, but a signal that Erika is trying out many different options in her personal life, right in the middle of the family's most sensitive time. What makes people argue even more is her completely changed style of dress. Erika used to joke that she had to look like Adam Sandler 90% of the time, meaning simple, casual, and comfortable. But now when she appears in the media, she always dresses in flimsy dresses, wears heavy makeup, and is always ready for the camera like a Hollywood character. 90% of the time of my life, I look like Adam Sandler? I'm not dressed like this. So like you pick Sandler. Can we pick someone else, please? Yeah, it's not Adam. Prioritize trying to find a spouse, you much higher likelihood to find one, but as women you need to take care of yourself in order to. You can't be looking like Adam Sandler and expect that you're going to. This sudden change has created a wave of debate. Many people ask, is this really the priority of a mother who has just suffered a great loss? Even those who once supported Erika have begun to question it. One comment that went viral on social media said it bluntly, no. I don't think Erika is the model of a resilient woman. The fact that she appears on a podcast, is busy being a CEO just 2 weeks after her husband's incident seems strange. With such a large financial capacity, she should have been able to take a break to take care of her children who have just lost their father. And the truth is that many people agree with this because family is not only the husband, but also the children who need a steady hand, need a quiet moment to understand what is happening in their lives. But instead of spending time with her children, Erika appears continuously at major events, receiving awards, standing on stage to give speeches, participating in interviews spread across large platforms. She is seen next to influential figures attending galas, photo-oots as if she is trying to climb a new social ladder. Meanwhile, the two children, little souls who have just experienced the pain of losing their father, seem to only appear in their mother's story as a tool to gain sympathy or prove the image of a strong mother. And for Robert and Catherine Kirk, this is unacceptable. They saw the danger. If Erika continued to pursue her tenuous relationships and performative media career, the children might be left behind, or worse, they might be drawn into the complex adult agenda becoming the family symbol that Erika had unconsciously or consciously created for herself. And for Charlie's parents, that was a line they would never let anyone cross. Not while they were alive. Not while Charlie's ultimate legacy, her two children, was at risk of being used as props for goals they could not accept. What worries the Kirk family is not just Erika's ambition or the possibility that she is looking for a new image to replace the losses in her life. No, their real concern lies on a deeper level, one that most of the public doesn't see: Erika's hidden connections. And the biggest problem is they have no idea who those people are. Who is behind her? Who is allowing her to sit at the powerful tables that Charlie used to be wary of? Who is bringing her into events that are not for ordinary people? And most importantly, who is Erika loyal to? This is the question that keeps Charlie's parents up at night, because after their son's incident, they realize that Erika never goes alone. There is always someone around, always someone behind, always a shadow of some group they have never known. These questions didn't come out of nowhere. They began when the internet sleuth community discovered something extremely strange. The Egyptian plains and two Gulf streams, sea-named Subtit and Sebend, had overlapped with Erika 68 to 73 times over 3 years from 22 to September 25th. 3 years in a row, not once, not a few times, more than 70 times. This is even more strange because that frequency appears more frequently with Erika, not with Charlie. A man who once held a prominent position in a national political movement is not followed that closely. But Erika is, that can't be a coincidence. No one believes it is a coincidence. And as these analyses spread, people began to hypothesize. Was it a secret security force, or was some powerful group monitoring Erika in ways that ordinary people would never understand? Or was this a prearranged power rendezvous where Erika was not only a participant but also a priority for protection? These questions seem far-fetched, but then things got more serious when an insider, according to Candace Owens, secretly contacted and confirmed the whole suspicion. The person the planes were actually tracking for years was Erika, not Charlie, but Erika was the one being tracked by these planes. And indeed, it turns out that she was correct. She discovered that between 2022 and September of 2025, both of those aircrafts, SUBTT, the yellow plane, and SUBND, the blue plane, showed 68 overlaps with Erika's documented LOC locations. When Candace posted the information, many thought she was exaggerating, but then the location data, duplicate maps, and flight traces were analyzed by independent accounts. They all pointed to one thing: Erika had connections no one had ever imagined. To Robert and Catherine, this wasn't just strange, it was a red flag. Because if someone was behind Erika, if some powerful group was supporting, monitoring, or directing her, then their children, their grandchildren, could be in an environment they didn't know, didn't understand, and couldn't protect. And to them, that was the most dangerous thing of all. What makes the whole thing even more controversial is the analysis that some flight tracking network observers have documented. Erika, or the location where she appears, is said to have overlapped with the routes of two famous Gulfstream planes, the yellow one and Subend. The blue one, between 68 and 73 times between 22 and September 25th. That number can't be a coincidence. Not a few random times, more than 70 times, constantly, consistently, and centered around a woman who held no public office or military role. And the puzzling thing is these planes overlapped with Erika more often than with Charlie himself. This led cyber sleuths to ask if anyone needed a high level of surveillance or protection. It should have been Charlie, the high-powered influencer, and not Erika, who was seen as operating behind the scenes. But the data suggested otherwise. As word spread, more people began digging deeper, and this is when the most intrusive theories began to explode on social media. Some analyst accounts tried to link Erika to controversial figures in political and social history, including Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, these connections were largely based on old photos, appearances at certain events, or the presence of powerful groups that the public was not aware of. But whether true or not, the fact that Erika's name was constantly associated with such figures created a huge wave of skepticism. And once social media became suspicious, things started to burn up in just a few hours. Interactions skyrocketed. Analysis videos appeared everywhere. Discussion forums were heated. The two words heat appeared repeatedly describing the level of heat that was spreading. But behind the online noise, there was a much more practical problem. Are children safe in such an environment? That was what made Charlie's parents, Robert and Catherine, restless. They knew their son had been very strict about privacy and family safety. They knew Charlie would never want him to be dragged into public opinion, even accidentally. But now, seeing Erika constantly appear in controversial stories, seeing her name associated with unpredictable groups of powerful figures, they knew things were going too far. And they couldn't stand still. They believed that the turmoil surrounding Erika could affect the two children, not just emotionally, but also in terms of their privacy and stability in their daily lives. No one knew who those groups were. No one knew how deep those relationships ran. No one knew who Erika was relying on or who was relying on Erika. So they saw it as a red flag, a bright red flag. So they decided to act and act fast. They filed for custody of the two children. And they were not shy about sharing their views with the media, not to criticize Erika, but to protect the children. Two innocent beings in an environment where adults were constantly creating chaos. In their eyes, this was no longer a family matter, no longer a love affair, no longer a private conflict. It's a fight to keep two children safe, stable, and future what's left of Charlie. And for them, no trade-off is more important than that. At this point, everything around Erika Kirk was spiraling out of control. Every move, every statement, every media appearance, all of it was backfiring and creating an undeniable layer of pressure. And the scariest thing was the people confronting her this time were not the media, not the online commentators, but Charlie's own parents. Robert and Catherine no longer maintained the image of grieving, quiet, aloof grandparents. No, they had entered absolute protective mode, as if this was the last time they could guarantee the safety of their two children, Charlie's most precious thing left. They weren't just skeptical, they were adamant that they no longer trusted Erika, didn't trust her judgment, didn't trust the people she was allowing around the children, and didn't trust that the current home was a stable place for the children to grow up. And when they finally filed for custody, things took a completely different turn. This was no longer a family dispute, it was a legal battle, a process that would expose everything Erika had tried to hide. Relationships, unclear decisions, inexplicable actions, and gaps that had never been discussed publicly. The biggest question now was, is Erika really ready to step into this ring? Does she have the spirit, the evidence, and the transparency to face the battle that Charlie's parents had initiated? While the public debated, there was a moment that stopped the entire social network. The moment an insider shared his thoughts on Charlie, who was now on top, looking down on everything with a more complete perspective than anyone else who remained. I believe the man said that if Charlie up there saw the whole picture, all the facts, all the motives, all the things we're arguing about, he would understand. And if there was a choice, if God said, "Do you want to go back and change everything that's going on down there?" I believe he would say no. A statement that left everyone speechless. Not because it was tragic, but because it touched on a deep truth. Sometimes, in the biggest events of life, the one who left sees more clearly than anyone else. The idea carries two layers of meaning. One layer is comfort, the belief that Charlie is in a peaceful place, no longer caught up in the chaos of the world. The other layer is a powerful question. If Charlie saw the whole truth, would he agree with what was going on between Erika and his parents? That question hangs in the air unanswered, but one thing is clear. When Charlie's parents decided to take the stand, they were fighting for more than just a lawsuit. They were fighting for their son's legacy, for the integrity of what he believed in, and for the future of the children he loved most. And in the end, there is one truth we cannot avoid. This story is no longer about rumors, speculation, or online analysis. It has become a stark reminder of how silence, information geese, and behind-the-scenes decisions can completely change the lives of innocent people, especially two children. Charlie's parents have stepped out of the shadows and stood up not to confront, but to protect. Erika, while trying to maintain her image, is also in the eye of the storm where every word, every action, every decision is being scrutinized by millions of eyes. But the biggest question remains, what is the real truth? What is going on behind closed doors? And who is truly protecting what Charlie left behind? Only time will tell. Now, if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me as I navigate the complex layers of information surrounding this controversial story. Leave your thoughts below. Who do you believe? What do you think is really going on? And do you agree with Charlie's family's decision? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell because the next installments will be even deeper, clearer, and much more controversial. See you in the next video. The story isn't over yet.